Hey, so the Boston Bruins are kind of on a roll these days amid all of the recent NHL trade deadline moves and rumblings. And one of current Bruins forward Pat Maroon's former teams is in the house tonight in the St. Louis Blues. Let's talk about it all on a brand new episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoke to Beat. Today is Monday, March 11th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Actually, we are also on YouTube, and I should probably change my hat here so that I'm wearing it forwards, because a YouTube commenter helpfully told me on Friday that your IQ goes down 100 points if you put it backwards. So let's put it forwards and put our smart boy hat on here today to talk about all things Spoke to Be. Quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins, and you can find me, my dad jokes, hockey thoughts at Ian C. McLaren. So after Friday's NHL trade deadline, the Boston Bruins added Pat Maroon and Andrew Peeke. Linus Ullmark also still around after reportedly nixing a trade that would have sent him to Los Angeles. Let's start there because Ullmark had a decision to make, allegedly, apparently, reportedly, after Bruins management approached him to see if he would waive his no-trade clause to move to Los Angeles. Ullmark, well within his rights, said, no, this is all unconfirmed. Neither Don Sweeney nor Linus Ullmark would say that this exactly happened, but it's widely believed that this was indeed the course of events. And Ullmark, look, he has that trade protection in his contract, and it's quite reasonable to not want to pick up and move across the country when you have settled into Boston. You're on a 4-year contract. You're in year 3. You have such solid relationships here. And look, it took him, he said, like the whole first year of his contract to really feel at home in Boston, to get settled, to get his family settled. Perfectly reasonable that he wouldn't want to pick up and move in the middle of a season. Perhaps it's something that could be approached again in the summer, where you have that time to make that move, to settle in. But Ullmark, he just said he's very happy to be here. It's the team that he wants to be on. He's very fortunate to be part of this group. Ever since day one, he's loved it in Boston. He's very happy where he is right now. And we'll talk about it a bit later, but he bounced back with a big-time performance against the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday and really showed his value. He said he had good conversations with former Bruins captain Patrice Bergeron prior to the trade deadline. Charlie McAvoy reached out to him on Friday with a very thought-out text that really hit home and showed what kind of group and what kind of people there are on this team. And he was very happy and emotional after he read it. So Linus Ullmark made that decision. I also don't really fault Don Sweeney for bringing it up or for exploring all possible options to improve this team. Now, you can argue if the deal was with the Kings for Pierre-Luc Dubois, are you really improving the team? Maybe not, because there's real questions about that player and his contract, certainly for the next several years. But Don Sweeney full credit to him. He has made some good trades in the past. That's probably his strength as Bruins general manager. He felt he had an opportunity to improve the team. So it's his job to do that, to approach the player and to see if he would be willing to make that trade. Ullmark said no, and that's well within his rights. It's just the business of hockey, as unfortunate as it is. Now, Sweeney, of course, like I mentioned, didn't directly say whether or not he asked Ullmark. He said at the end of the day, he's not ever going to get into a conversation with what he may have talked to Linus about. He acknowledged they've explored different situations. They had opportunities to move different players, but he's not getting into the intricacies of what's in someone's contract or what the options were on Friday. Now, what he did do was add Patrick Maroon from the Minnesota Wild. Pat Maroon, he said jokingly that he felt like he was hated in Boston, but he's super excited. Original Six team, a great opportunity. He's heard nothing but good things about the locker room, and it's a great opportunity to go and achieve our goals. Every player's goal is to win the Stanley Cup, another chance to play in the playoffs and have a great run. And, Maroon is still recovering from back surgery. His debut yet to be determined, but Don Sweeney acknowledged that they acquired him for the playoffs. He knows what it's like to be part of a championship team. He's won 3 over the past 5 years. He's got that playoff pedigree. He's got that veteran leadership and experience. And he's also got, size, toughness that the Bruins could use on the fourth line. I'm excited to see him in black and gold. I'm not, fawning over him, but that's the thing with hockey. Yeah, there's a guy that you despise on another team. He joins your tribe, and all of a sudden, he is embraced. I can see that happening as he gets onto the ice. Andrew Peeke did not make his debut on Saturday. The Bruins were off on Sunday. We'll see if he's part of the morning skate here on Monday and gets into the lineup tonight. He does have some experience playing with Trent Frederick and Jeremy Swayman at the World Championships with Team USA. He's heard from Sean Kuraly all about how great Boston is, and in fact, he took Kuraly's old number 52. Don Sweeney said he brings some penalty killing, some size, and again, the Bruins taking a bit of a risk here, but it was disclosed later that Derek Forbort likely out for the remainder of the season. He's going to be put on LTIR. He's been playing through significant injuries. He's an unrestricted free agent, so it's quite possible his time with the Bruins is done. And Peeke being brought in at a cheaper deal than what Forbort was on to kind of fill that role, penalty killing, shot blocking, size, toughness, hits on the back end. And I'm excited to see him in the lineup as well. So at the end of the day, Don Sweeney did his job by adding a couple depth pieces that were much needed. Linus Ullmark, and he also did his job by exploring all options. You can argue whether or not he should have approached Ullmark to waive his no trade. That's just the business of hockey. Interesting to see who is actually on his list. LA, you'd think would be a desirable location to go. Not for Ullmark at this time anyways. Maroon, Peeke should bring some depth to the team. And this team is quietly rolling right now after another big win over Pittsburgh on Saturday. And we'll discuss that one here as the podcast continues. If you're looking to get tickets to your next Bruins game or looking ahead to the Red Sox, maybe even jumping on to a Celtics game, there's no better place to look than GameTime because they have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and a best price guarantee that takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Their all-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. And their game time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but just create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Game Time, last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. Thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. I think on Friday was top 3 in terms of best days for the Locked On Boston Bruins YouTube channel. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Also, check out the Locked On Sports Today channel, which is the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's now also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Top sports stories of the day with local experts and national shows covering every league. Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Now, the Bruins are kind of rolling these days. They had been on a bit of a slump, but over the last week or so, they've been playing very, very well. They beat the Maple Leafs twice last week by twin scores of 4-1. They did lose to the Edmonton Oilers, but that was in overtime. It was only 2-1. It was on the second of a back-to-back with a late arrival time back in Boston. And then on Saturday, they went out and beat the Pittsburgh Penguins by a score of 4-1, a game in which Linus Ullmark, following the trade deadline drama, made 38 saves. Pavel Zacha had 3 points. And David Pastrnak, recorded his 40th goal of the season. Now, the Bruins were outshot 39-23, so a huge disparity there. But the Bruins, they actually won in terms of face-offs, 55.2%, which is pretty good considering the Penguins have some very good centers. And, the Penguins have been pretty bad as of late. I picked up Chris Letang in my fantasy hockey pool, trying to get a little boost. He scored in this one, but they've been very bad as of late, including a game on Sunday that they lost. They were shut out against Washington last week. So the Bruins catching the Penguins at a good time. And they'll play them once more, actually, on April 13th. Zacha, as I mentioned, had 2 goals, and he also chipped in an assist on the David Pastrnak goal. Jake DeBrusk heating up a little bit more here. He scored his 15th goal of the season, and Brad Marchand with his 27th. That was all the scoring that the Bruins needed. They only needed a couple goals in this one. I watched this on the Big City Greens feed. I don't know if anybody else checked that out, but I watched it with our 9-year-old son, and he very much enjoyed it. Although he was, concerned for Pavel Zacha because on that broadcast, he was replaced by Gloria. So he was wondering how the players felt by, being replaced by cartoons. I said, I'm sure they feel just fine about it. The Bruins have now won 4 of their past 6 games and hopefully are heating up a little bit here and have a chance to continue that tonight against the St. Louis Blues. In fact, they have a few games coming up against non-playoff or fringe playoff teams. We'll take a look at that coming up when we discuss the week ahead. But as far as this game against Pittsburgh goes, again, Pastrnak with his 40th goal of the season. It was the 4th time that he has reached 40 goals. He's only the 4th Bruins player to have 4 40-goal seasons. The others are Phil Esposito, who has 7, Rick Middleton, who had 5, and Cam Neely with 4. So if he does it again next year, he'll become one of one of 3 Bruins to have 5 40-goal seasons. Could he catch Phil Esposito in that category and even pass him? Quite possibly. He's still in the prime of his career, and something he said he's not taking for granted. It's his job to score goals, but at the same time, you're playing in the best league in the world, and each time you light the lamp, you know what? That's something special. Jim Montgomery said he looked back at the egg that they laid last week against the New York Islanders, a 5-1 loss on March 2nd. They've come back with 4 really good games in a row. Those 2 wins over Toronto, the overtime loss to Edmonton, and now this win over Pittsburgh. Brad Marchand said they feel very good about the group they have all year, and they added 2 tough pieces, 2 great guys in the room, Maroon and Peeke. He loves the group. He feels very confident in it, and come playoff time, anything can happen, as the Bruins well know, and they have a group they believe in, and that's what is important. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, nosedive, likely will not make the playoffs. Ullmark had lost each of his previous 6 starts before this one, but 5 came in an overtime or shootout situation. The 38 saves, he looked very good. Again, I was watching on the cartoon feed, so I didn't get a great look at all of his saves technically, but I mean, to make 38 saves against Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Erik Karlsson, Chris Letang is no small feat. Pavel Zacha heating up as well. He's got a 4-game point streak, 5 goals, 2 assists. If the Bruins can get consistency from Jake DeBrusk, Pavel Zacha, Charlie Coyle, Marchand, Pasternak, those 2 lines could be very good. They did not add a scoring winger, so looks like Danton Heinen could be locked into that role for the foreseeable future. And I don't hate that. I really do. I don't know if he is a top 6 forward in the NHL, but with this group, it's working, and they're keeping that depth going. JVR, Geeky, Frederick looks like a nice little mix. The 4th line, Lauko, Boqvist, Brazo. I don't know if they can make it work cap-wise, but I'd love to see Boqvist move to the wing. You have Boqvist, Beecher, Maroon eventually as that 4th line. That's what I would like to see come playoff time. Now the Bruins are back in action tonight against, well, we'll talk about that here as the podcast continues. FanDuel is where you want to be to make all the bets on the sports. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the college basketball tournament. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. And it's, of course, not just for NCAA basketball, but you can also get in on the action with respect to the NBA and the NHL. Tonight, for example, the over-under for Bruins Blues is set at 5.5. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. Bruins Blues tonight at TD Garden, where the Bruins, of course, will look to build on this recent run of success. Again, not quite sure if Andrew Peeke will be in the lineup, but whatever has been in the lineup for the Bruins has been working as of late. This will be the second and final game between these 2 teams this season. Boston won 4-3 in overtime back on January 13th. And it was Charlie McAvoy who scored the overtime game winner in that one. The Blues are, fighting for a playoff spot at the moment in the Western Conference. They are, 8 points back of Vegas for the second wildcard spot, so not likely to jump into the mix this season. Right now, they rank, 26th in terms of goals scored per game, only 18th in terms of goals allowed per game. They're allowing 3.09, scoring only 2.75. I'm no expert, but if you're allowing more goals than you're scoring on a regular basis, then you're probably not a great team in the NHL. The Bruins, on the other hand, scoring 3.32, allowing 2.67, which is fourth ranked in the NHL. The Blues are coming into this one 3-6-1 over their last 10. The Bruins are 5-1-4. So only one regulation loss over their last 10 games. That was that game I previously mentioned against the New York Islanders. And they, of course, have won 3 of their past 4 of their past 6. Jordan Binnington likely will be in net for the Blues. He's 911 save percentage. Jeremy Swayman likely in net after Ullmark had the game on Saturday. He's got a 922 save percentage. The Blues are led in scoring by Robert Thomas. He's got a smooth 69 points. Jordan Kyrou, Pavel Buchnevich at 48 apiece to come in second. And, of course, old friend Torrey Krug leads the way on the blue line for them with 32 points. It was nice to see him hanging out with David Pastrnak and Freya as well on Instagram yesterday. Krug getting some time in with one of his old buds in Boston. Pavel Zacha leads the way for the Bruins in scoring over the past 5 games with those 7 points, including 5 goals. Pastrnak with 4 assists. He's up to 93 points in 66 games to by far lead the way for the Bruins, with Marchand, Coyle, and Zacha coming in. I'd like to see James Van Riemsdyk chip in a bit here. He's quieted down. Could use some goals for him as I look to win my playoff matchup. I'm currently losing mostly because of plus minus, which is a real kick in the nuts. Now the Bruins, after tonight's game, they will get a day off. And then actually 2 days off before they will play the Canadiens in Montreal on Thursday. Following that, they will come home and host the Philadelphia Flyers on Saturday. Now, John Tortorella was suspended by the NHL for refusing to leave the bench after being ordered to by the referee the other day. That will be his first game back. They're looking to stay alive in the playoff race as well. Montreal is, of course, way out. So that's what is ahead for the Bruins this week. And we will be sure to keep you on top of it all here on Locked On Boston Bruins. Thank you so much once again for checking out the podcast. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. If you're new, welcome. Love to have you aboard. Hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a thing. It's my wife Lauren's birthday today. Happy birthday, Lauren. She's out and about with her mom doing some thrifting. We're going to go out for dinner later. And it's March break. Thankfully, no interruptions from the young McLarens here on today's episode. Happy Monday. Please do take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll talk to you again here tomorrow on Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.